The chamber rose like a cathedral of steel and starlight. Each of the Galactic Council's 83 delegates sat in their private alcoves carved into the dome's wall, hovering thrones built to the specifications of their species. Some floated, others pulsed with life support. Holograms flickered in alien languages. Whispers passed between biotranslators like wind through a crypt. At the center, beneath a beam of artificial daylight, stood an old soldier. His name, Commander Threx Gorin. He limped slowly to the speaking platform, his left leg fully mechanical, his right arm sleeved in living armor, a medical graft from another age. His face, once proud and angular like most of his Varnari kin, had collapsed into hollows and old scar tissue. One eye was gone. The other held silence. Councillor Khazar-Vel, High Speaker of the Zenari Empire, stood behind him, glittering in robes of black alloy silk, his crest raised in defiance. Proposal 3476C, Khazar announced, voice ringing with false clarity. Sanctioned military containment of Species 92A, humans. Known violators of expansion treaties. Primitive. Violent. Unchecked. I motion we act before they spread further. Murmurs swept the chamber like static. Threx didn't look back. He stood still as the council moderator, a being of gas and light named Iserat, extended a tendril toward him. Commander Threx Gorin, Iserat said, you have requested wartime testimony. Do you still wish to proceed? I do. You understand this testimony will be archived permanently. I understand. His voice was low, dry, but unwavering. The record has been silent long enough. He stepped forward. I was there, he began, looking up at the layers of delegates. Red Dust Campaign. Marsera 4. 72 Varnari strike cruisers entered orbit on Galactic Standard 3444. We'd intercepted human transmissions, erratic, open band, no encryption. The Council deemed them unsophisticated. Intelligence called the planet a soft target. No central defense grid. We expected a planetary surrender within 2 cycles. He paused. 72 ships went in. Only one came back. Khazar scoffed. A tragic failure. Not an argument. Threx turned slightly, addressing the entire dome. They were not primitive. They were prepared. We just didn't know what prepared meant when it came to humans. A few heads tilted, interest rising. They didn't meet us in orbit. No defense fleet. No challenge. We descended freely, deployed troops on the surface, scattered their population. Within hours, they vanished. Threx's eye narrowed. And then the world turned against us. The lights dimmed. A small holodisplay activated beside him, showing a static-ridden image of a red plain, dry and cracked. Thin clouds scraped over jagged mountains. No sign of civilization, until a Varnari trooper stepped forward and vanished mid-stride. A sharp burst of static. Then silence. Threx spoke again. That was a forward unit. Terrain seemed unremarkable. Until pressure-triggered dust canisters detonated, mixed with spores. Spores that. He pulled back his sleeve. Skin beneath was mottled, ridged with ridges like barnacles. Grew inside our lungs. Bioengineered. Native fungus, weaponized. They didn't fire a shot. They let the planet kill us. Gasps rippled from the council members. Threx disabled the hologram. And that was just the beginning. Khazar stood. You mistake sabotage for strategy. They're scavengers, nothing more. They tricked you because your forces were complacent. Threx didn't rise to the bait. They dismantled our supply lines within 3 days. Jammed our comms using analog interference. Buried magnetic mines that read our engine frequencies. They reverse-engineered Varnari plasma coils with salvaged scrap. In days. Impossible, someone muttered. Threx turned toward the voice. A silene diplomat, photosynthetic, with petal-like hands, spoke again. Are you saying they matched Varnari tech within days of exposure? They didn't match it, Threx said. They turned it against us. Another voice echoed, uncertain. Why hasn't this been revealed before? Because the official report classified our losses as tactical miscalculation. To protect pride. To avoid panic. The truth was buried. But I carry it in my body. And in memory. He paused again, gaze drifting somewhere far away. I led 40,000 soldiers onto that planet. We had armor suits that could breach moons. We had orbital support, mech divisions, psych shield battalions. And every day, we lost ground. Not because they had better weapons, because they had better minds. A heavy silence settled. I saw children reroute drones mid-flight. I watched medics with no implants perform field surgery better than our AI. Their soldiers don't follow orders like machines. They think. They adapt. They change. By the time we understood their tactics, they had already moved on to new ones. Khazar spat venom. They are unpredictable. That alone is not power. Chaos is not victory. Threx stepped toward him. You mistake chaos for creativity. You mistake restraint for weakness. Khazar bared his fangs, but said nothing. Threx turned again to the chamber. You do not understand what you're proposing. War with humans is not conquest. It is contagion. They will infect every protocol, break every rule you cling to, and turn your own arrogance into your downfall. Another murmur spread. Counselor Shinla of the Caraxi swarm, whose species revered balance above all else, asked, Then why didn't they strike the final blow? Threx's eye lowered. Because they didn't have to. Because they wanted us to remember. And we did. Iserat, the moderator, floated forward. Commander Threx, do you have anything further to add before we recess for deliberation? Threx nodded once. Just this. He leaned on his cane. You call them primitive. Violent. Unworthy of diplomacy. But you haven't seen their restraint. That's the part that keeps me from sleeping. He exhaled. And if you force war again, you'll learn. Restraint is the last mercy they will give. The lights dimmed. The platform lowered. Silence followed. The council would deliberate. Threx limped out of the light and back into the shadows. The lights dimmed again in the council chamber. Threx stood motionless at the center. His silhouette flickered under the projection light as a new hologram activated beside him, a jagged landscape bathed in rust-colored haze. Massive craters lined the horizon, as if the planet had been gnawed from the inside out. He spoke without fanfare. We called it Sindhar's Basin. It was the last major stronghold on Marsara IV, or so we believed. A still frame showed Varnari tanks rolling across the cracked terrain, their plasma engines kicking up plumes of ochre dust. The humans lured us in. Broadcasted distress calls. Repeated messages of surrender. We thought we'd broken their lines. The image shifted to a Varnari command tent. Inside, officers hunched over glowing maps. Outside, the wind carried something strange, music. A single, eerie human melody. They played it everywhere, Threx said. Through the ruins, across dead fields. One song. Over and over. Counselor Shinla leaned forward. Music? As communication? Threx didn't blink. As misdirection. He tapped a command. A map appeared, showing troop positions converging on a central location marked Objective Gray. We advanced in full formation. When we reached the coordinates, there was nothing there but rubble and burned-out tech shells. Fake transmitters. A new projection flickered to life, grainy footage from Threx's personal helmet cam. It showed the inside of the ruined facility, a maze of wires and shrapnel. Symbols painted on walls, roughly translated, too slow. Then everything shook. Dust cascaded from the ceiling. The screen cut to black. They'd buried seismic charges under our advance routes. Delayed detonations. We lost 6 battalions in 10 seconds. Counselor Khazar's voice rang out. So they used mines. Guerrilla tactics. You call that superior warfare? No, Threx said calmly. I call it surgical. He switched the projection again. This time, it showed humans, grainy footage, recorded from above. Not soldiers. Farmers. Engineers. Civilians carrying scavenge tech. Their clothing mismatched. Their movements erratic. But their eyes calm. Focused. They had no standing army. Just militias and volunteers. Yet they coordinated across continents without a single command structure. Do you understand what that means? No one answered. It means we weren't fighting in army. We were fighting in idea. A new clip played. A Varnari officer, Threx's second-in-command, screaming into comms. They're inside the comm net. They're talking to us using our own encryption. Then silence. They cracked our codes in under 36 hours, Threx said. Not by brute force. They learned our language from ambient broadcasts. Backward engineered our software from captured drones. Then they fed us false intel. Walked us straight into our own grave. Kaza growled. If you were so easily deceived, perhaps it is you who should be questioned. Threx didn't even look at him. They jammed our orbitals with weather satellites reprogrammed into signal scramblers. Built EMP bombs from stripped reactor parts. They understood our patterns better than we did by the third week. He took a step forward. But that wasn't the worst of it. The chamber fell still. The worst was the boarding. He activated a final recording. The screen filled with the image of the Varnari dread carrier. Fawn of Midras. Hanging in low orbit. Pristine. Untouched. Then alarms. Static. Internal breach. While we were being drawn into their trap on the surface, human teams launched stealth pods from the far side of the moon. Hit our shipyards first. Then the dreadnought. They used magnet boots. Manual cutting tools. No emissions. Video feeds switched to chaos. Gunfire inside corridors, sealed doors melting, Varnari engineers screaming. A massive engine explosion. They didn't destroy the ship. They disabled it. Deliberately. Left life support intact. Jettisoned escape pods with our wounded still aboard. They were sending a message. Counselor Yervier of the Drawl asked softly. Why didn't they finish it? Because they didn't need to. The screen cut to Threx himself, hollow-eyed, blood on his face, inside a drop pod spinning through atmosphere. I escaped. Alone. The rest of my command didn't make it off that rock. The chamber stayed silent. You don't understand, he continued. They didn't just adapt. They outthought us, outplanned us, anticipated us at every turn. We deployed logic. They used intuition. They rewrote the rules mid-battle. Khazar stood again, his voice forceful. So what do you suggest, Commander? That we cower before a species barely beyond its own solar system? That we abandon strategic engagement based on one campaign? Threx looked up at him. I suggest you listen to the facts instead of your pride. He turned to the council. You didn't lose a war. You were spared from one. They could have followed. Could have turned Marsera 4 into a forward base. Instead, they left. They sent no fleet. Issued no ultimatum. Just silence. Shinla whispered. Why? Threx's voice dropped to a rasp. Because they wanted us to ask that question. And fear the answer. A long pause stretched across the room. Iserat, glowing slightly dimmer than before, drifted closer. You've presented a picture far different from the official records. Why bring it now? Because you're about to make the same mistake we did. You look at humans and see disunity, chaos, impulsiveness. But that's not weakness. It's fluidity. They don't think like us. They don't break under pressure. They evolve. He stepped back, the weight of memory tightening across his features. They're not monsters. They're something worse. Something we have no defense against. And what's that? Khazar snapped. Threx answered without hesitation. Unpredictable. He deactivated the holodisplay. Silence. No one argued. Not even Khazar. Only the quiet hum of ancient machinery echoed through the dome. The chamber was deathly quiet. Commander Threx Goran stood alone at the center, breath steady, eyes on no one and everyone at once. The screens were dark now. The blood-streaked footage gone. The screams silenced. But their echoes remained, clinging to the vaulted walls like old ghosts. Isserat, the light-being moderator, broke the silence. "Commander, do you wish to submit anything further?" Threx answered by raising a data shard. "I request to enter one final file into the record. Sealed footage. Level 9 clearance. Varnari Intelligence, Operation Ghostnet." A few counselors stirred. Level 9 was deep black. Material so classified it had never been whispered aloud. "Granted," Isserat said. The holodisplay returned. This time, the screen showed something unexpected. A human fleet. Stationed in lunar orbit around Mars Sera 4. 42 vessels, all armed, all operational. Silent. Threx narrated. This footage was recovered by a Varnari stealth drone. Hidden within a comet tail. What you're seeing is a full human strike group, undetected during the entire campaign. They never moved. Never fired. Never revealed themselves. The council stared. They could have destroyed our retreating fleet. They didn't. Another clip. Human officers on a command deck. One, older, white-haired, eyes calm, stood before a map of alien territories. Threx paused the video. "This is General Maynard Roke, head of Earth Command during the Red Dust campaign. Listen carefully." He pressed play. "They're scared. Not stupid. If we crush them, they'll retaliate with the next generation. We win nothing by humiliation. Let them go. Let them think. Let them choose." Threx looked around. "That order was issued before our retreat. They chose not to follow us." Counselor Shinla murmured. "They allowed you to escape." "No," Threx replied. "They arranged our escape. Powered life support modules. Ejected pods on stable trajectories. Even broadcast emergency routes in our own language." Counselor Yervier whispered. "Mercy. Not mercy," Threx said. "Calculation." A new file appeared, an intercepted message. Origin Earth. Destination, classified. Human encryption, cracked by Varnari spies long after the war. The translation filled the chamber. "Varnari forces will assume retreat is a victory. Let them record it that way. Future engagements should avoid extinction-level displays unless provoked. Let fear do the work. It's more sustainable." A shiver passed through the chamber. They didn't want conquest. They wanted distance. To be left alone. But they made sure we remembered, because next time, there wouldn't be a warning. Khazar, until now silent, surged to his feet. His voice boomed, sharp with disdain. "You dare present this as restraint? A calculated performance meant to manipulate us. And you applaud it?" Threx met his gaze evenly. "I acknowledge it." Khazar stepped forward, eyes blazing. "You are a soldier, not a diplomat. You returned broken and made that your gospel. We are the council. We hold the power. Not some scattered mammalian upstarts." Threx said nothing. Khazar turned, addressing the delegates. "This is fear-mongering. We are being asked to submit to a myth. A species barely a blip in galactic history. We have faced planet breakers, dimension striders, void spawn, and now we tremble before humans?" He spat the word. "They bleed. They age. They die. They are mortal. That is their weakness." "No," Threx said, voice low. "That is their strength." Khazar froze. The chamber fell still again. Threx walked a slow circle, speaking to the council as if across time. "Humans know death intimately. They carry it with them. Every invention, every step, is shadowed by mortality. That's why they fight the way they do. Why they don't waste time with ceremony or hesitation. They innovate because they have to. They endure because there is no other choice. That urgency? That desperation? It makes them unstoppable." Counselor Anaoquin, quiet until now, finally asked, "Then what would you have us do?" Threx stopped walking. "Nothing." "Nothing? Do not provoke them. Do not test them. Do not assume their patience is eternal. Their silence now is not passivity. It is warning. Heed it. Khazar laughed bitterly. You speak like they are gods. No, Threx said. I speak like a survivor. Silence. Issarat pulsed gently. The chamber will now vote. Floating glyphs activated beside each delegate. One by one, species cast their decision on Proposal 3476C, military containment of humans. Councillor Enaelquen voted no. Shinla, no. Yervie, abstained. Others followed. 1 yes. 4 no. Then 10. Then 20. A wave. When the final glyph turned red, the verdict was clear. Proposal 3476C, rejected. Khazar stood motionless. His hands clenched. His crest fell flat. He turned and stalked from the chamber without a word. The council dissolved into whispers. Threx remained behind. He watched the chamber empty. Watched the lights dim. Watched the last vote fade from the screen. Only Issarat remained, hovering beside him. You carried much, Commander, the being said gently. I carried it because someone had to, Threx replied. Issarat floated closer. Do you believe they would have destroyed us? No, Threx said. They would have broken us. Piece by piece. Quietly. Without a single ship ever entering orbit. He stepped away. As he walked the corridor alone, past statues of ancient treaties and wars long dead, a nearby holoscreen flickered. A diplomatic bulletin. Human vessels entering neutral zone. No weapons detected. Trade envoys declared. Threx paused, watching them. Slender ships. No escorts. No demands. Just presence. The message was clear. They remembered. And they expected others to remember too. He whispered to himself. Mercy is the last message they send. The next won't be words. He walked on.